Yo, what's good peeps? I'm going to run through 5 tips I think is worth sharing with newcomers to the Street Fighter series that might help out with Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection.
Number 1.
If you've never played a Street Fighter game before or not a regular to the series, I would suggest going straight into the training mode. This might sound obvious to some gamers out there, but I'm the guilty type of player who always just wants to dive straight into most games without really training and just figure things out as I go along. But as far as Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection is concerned, regardless of whatever game you choose out of the 12, I don't think this approach would be wise. Going straight into fights, whether it be online or against the AI, you will be punished if you don't really know what you're doing. Now, this game only does have 4 training modes available for 4 games, but these should be enough to cover all 12 games. I believe once you have your key moves such as your projectiles and special attacks locked down, then by all means test out your skills against moving opponents. And whilst I don't tend to linger much in training modes myself, it's definitely something not to overlook in this game if you're a newcomer.
Number 2.
Now, keeping it real, I'm not really sure if this makes a major difference because even on the lowest difficulty, this game still will put you through your paces when facing the AI. But if you're new to the series, it's best to ease yourself into the game by immediately lowering the difficulty rating when taking on the AI in arcade mode. After you do get comfortable on the easier setting, then you can always ramp up the challenge and definitely test your skills. Just as a heads up, even on the easiest setting, be warned this game is by no means easy as it is the perfect arcade port, which was definitely brutal back in the day, so be prepared for a few frustrating encounters.
Number 3.
If after lowering the difficulty and you still struggle against the AI and feel like you can't even win a round or get past a specific opponent, I personally would suggest maybe using the save feature after you win a round to maybe make your experience a little bit easier. Now, this might go against some gamers' morals and will consider this as a bit of a cheat, but I believe if the feature is in the game, then why not utilize it and save your sanity? To some extent, I personally feel more satisfaction of actually beating the AI fair and square, so this method isn't that appealing to me personally. But if you're new to the game and want to save some grey hairs, especially in the earlier Street Fighter games, then maybe considering utilizing this feature.
Number 4.
On the surface, Street Fighter games may always appear simple, but there is a lot of technique when trying to master the series and simply aiming to become a better fighter. Bar bashing or throwing fireballs for the sake of it isn't that effective, so one of the key advice that I personally will give, and this is kind of a basic principle that I kind of apply to most games when it comes to the fighting genre, is basically work on your timing and distance. So when I say that, I basically mean working on how far or how close you should be to your opponent or when to actually attack and move. This might sound simple but not really easy to master. So for those who might be lost with this particular tip and don't really understand what I'm saying, in this example, Saga is basically spamming the Tiger projectile, but timing your jump allows you to close the gap and make the appropriate attack. When your opponent does miss, it allows you the opportunity, if you do time correctly, to retaliate and impact as much damage as possible on your opponent. In addition to this, understanding the distance which you should stand from your opponent is always important. So for example, getting close to someone like Zangief, who will inflict a lot of damage if he does grab you, wouldn't be a wise move, but getting close to someone like the likes of Saga or Ryu or any of the other characters who do like to fight from distance would be probably a smarter move. Do bear in mind though, timing is also a consideration with your movement, because someone like Saga might throw a Tiger and immediately throw a Tiger uppercut. So timing your jump and knowing how much distance to jump forward is definitely key. Obviously, if you're not familiar with the game itself, this might not make so much sense to you, but obviously once you play the game for a couple of hours or so, you will start to know how far or close you should be to an opponent and when to jump and attack.
Number 5.
Now before I get into this tip, I'm not saying that you should rush out and spend hundreds on an arcade stick. Obviously you can use the console control for this game and still have a great time, and even I personally play with the controller, but I will say that this game is a port from the arcade version, so the true experience to get an authentic feeling is probably more achievable when playing with an arcade stick. The main reason I've also put this tip as a suggestion is because my personal experience using the Xbox One controller is particularly being a bit frustrating, especially when I do use the D-pad. The analog stick on the controller works okay, but as I mentioned in my previous review about the game, I'm not really that keen in playing earlier Street Fighter games with an analog stick, so if you are after the full experience, then maybe an arcade stick might be worth grabbing. Anyway peeps, hopefully these 5 tips and suggestions might have helped you out or given you a little bit of food for thought, especially if you're a newcomer to the series. I'm far from an expert with Street Fighter, and I'm sure more pro fighters will be able to give more solid tips, which would definitely be great to see in the comment section below, as it definitely would help out everyone, and hopefully noobs or casuals will have a decent starting point and definitely get into the Street Fighter series. Who knows, after I put in even more hours into playing this game, I might even do a more advanced tip and trick video, but I'm not going to get too ahead of myself as I'm by no means an expert. And believe me when I say, whilst I've been playing the series for years, there is still loads for me to personally learn. Anyway peeps, have you had the chance to grab Street Fighter 30th year anniversary yet? Be sure to check out my 5 Things I Hate review, which has been getting a bit of heat and mixed reviews, but worth watching to see my early response and the gripes that I had with the game so far. If you did enjoy this tips video, be sure to smash the like button, and until next urban gameplay video, we definitely say peace out peeps.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more cool urban gameplay videos.